Hello, 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 everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back. In this Let's Read segment, we're going to finish up with the last 3 chapters and the conclusion, just a very short conclusion by the author at the end of the 12 Laws of the Universe by Manhardeep Singh. So let's go ahead and finish this up. So chapter 10, or law number 10, is the Law of Polarity. There are 2 sides to everything. Everything has an opposite on the same continuum. How would you know what heat is if you didn't experience cold? How would you know the feeling of joy if you never felt sad? You need one to experience the other, and this is the essence of polarity. So let's take a moment to be grateful for the bad things in life that allow us to experience the good things. I live in a climate where we have cold and dreary winters. But I have learned that this is what makes the joy of spring such a wonderful experience, and what makes me love and appreciate hot sunny days even more. All truths are but half-truths, and every truth is half false. There are 2 sides to everything. Opposites are identical in nature, yet different in degree. The Kabbalion. We can apply the same concept to our emotions. Through the despair of losing a loved one due to illness, we can learn to appreciate our health instead of taking time with family and friends for granted. Without sadness, how do we know what happiness is like? Without one, the other ceases to exist. All our human emotions are part of the human experience and serve a greater purpose, whether they feel good or not. Since all points on the emotional continuum are necessary to provide a complete life experience, we can accept that negative emotions have a purpose. If we are angry, sad, or depressed, this is a valid emotion with a reason. What does it teach you? We tend to resist and suppress these emotions because they don't feel right. However, once we get beyond this point, there will be some important information that will help in our emotional and personal growth. Advice. Negative emotions are inevitable but necessary. Without them, we would not know what positive emotions are. The goal is to accept the emotion, and instead of focusing on resisting it, accept it and focus on how it can help you move on. When considering the law of polarity, the most important thing to remember is that absolutely everything has an opposite, and it is the existence of these opposites that allow us to understand our lives. Therefore, when you experience some difficulties, it will help you to truly appreciate the good development ahead. By remembering this regularly, you can improve your ability to be resilient during difficult times. For example, although a bad breakup is painful, it will teach you what does not work for you in a relationship, and it will help you find what works in the end. This law says that everything in life has an opposite: good and evil, love and fear, hot and cold. The key is to understand that these are 2 sides of the same coin. Use this mantra to work with this law. All contrast brings more clarity. If you are faced with a difficult situation like a breakup or a health issue, for example, tune in to what the opposite looks like, which may reveal a new perspective or lesson. This law can play a big role when you study its meaning. However, in the simplest terms, everything has 2 opposing parts. For example, low and high, slow and fast, white and black. Confused? I know this can be very intense. But think of it this way: everything is good, and with good comes bad. Conversely, for example, if you are in a bad situation, then there must also be some good in it. Whether it's from what you learned from the situation or what happened after the incident, nothing is completely wrong, no matter how you look at it. Everything has an opposite side. If there is an increase, there is also a decrease. If there is light, there is also darkness. It cannot exist without the other. Experiencing these polarities is part of the human experience. They also help us learn from our mistakes and help us identify what we don't want, so that we can be more aware of what we do want. And Law 11, the law of rhythm. Nothing is permanent. The earth revolves around the sun, the moon revolves around the earth, and the earth rotates once every 24 hours. The four seasons change, the tide ebbs and flows, day turns to night, and becomes day again. These are expressions of rhythm for thousands of years. Energy is always moving, and these movements create cycles and patterns. We have seen such examples in the stock market, socio-political tendencies, and life circles. Each stage has a different purpose and function, but together they are essential to the overall situation. To be interested in the changing of the seasons is a happier state of mind than to be hopelessly in love with the spring. George Santayana. Rhythm is everywhere. We tend to stick to a certain stage without understanding the overall situation. We like bull markets, long summers, progressive politics because it feels good. But as we learned in the Law of Polarity, we actually need other stages because they are part of a larger whole. This law teaches us to step back 100 steps and realize that everything has its time. We often hope that things meet our conditions and schedule, but if we just take a deep breath and be patient, we will see that the trend is always reversing. Believe in the process. As with the outside world, the same principle applies to us. Our thoughts, moods, and emotions are constantly changing. When we are sad, we often feel that this feeling will last forever. When I am in a bad mood, one of my favorite mantras is, "This will not last forever." The idea itself creates a scale of vibration that gradually rises. Likewise, it is important to remember this concept when things are going well, because we know it is not permanent. Understanding this law helps us to develop a mindset of gratitude, which is one of the easiest high-frequency emotions to use at any given moment. Go with the flow of the rhythm. We do not control these rhythms, but if we can learn to go with the flow instead of resisting it, we will be much happier in the long term. If you planted an orchard in October, you will be a frustrated gardener. But if you have the patience to wait until spring, you will be abundant. Advice. When things are going well, appreciate it while it lasts. Go with the flow. When things don't go well, and go with the flow when things don't go well. Knowing that better days are right in front of you, you will feel comforted. Learn to observe the ebb and flow of life patiently, having faith that there is a time for everything. Sometimes referred to as a law of perpetual motion, the law of rhythm, unsurprisingly, focuses on movement. In particular, it refers to the fact that everything happens in cycles. You can see this in nature, like during the seasons and the aging process of the body. However, it also applies to all stages of a person's life. And reflecting on this can help you gain perspective. Today's season may be good, but nothing is permanent, so enjoy it while it lasts. Or you may be in the negative part of the cycle now, but this may be preparing you for the boom in the next month's cycle. The cycles are a natural part of the universe. Physically, you can think of the seasons on Earth. In our own lives, we can remember that integration is as important as growth. We hope we are in a particular way all the time, whether we are thinking about our health or productivity, but this is not sustainable. Take note of your internal rhythms and try to work with them instead of fighting them. Do you feel deteriorated? Maybe it's better to give yourself a little rest instead of powering through. This law follows the law of polarity very well. This law states that the energy of the universe is like a pendulum. If something swings to the left, it must swing to the right to balance. It is like a dance, swinging, swaying, and flowing. If you think about it, everything is growing or dying. This comes from the vibrations and rhythms produced by cycles, phases, and development patterns. Once you understand how to use this law to your benefit, you will master the techniques to allow flow and balance. You will understand how to rise on negative cycles, to never be overexcited or allow negative situations to penetrate your conscious mind. The key to success in mastering this law is to know how to maintain a balance. Take a moment to think about this. How can some companies thrive in a recession while others fail? Is it luck or their ability to overcome negative situations and see opportunities? And the last law, number 12, the law of gender. Manifestation requires balance of energies. So the male and female requires both the yin and yang. Both masculine and feminine energy is required in equilibrium to create anything. Sexual reproduction of species is a great example of this law in the physical world, and in the way it is more obvious to us. This concept also applies in the energy world. No creation, i.e., converting idea into reality, is possible without the balance of male and female energy. First, we must understand a very important concept. All, including us, have a combination of male and female energies, and we must balance them to create the things we want. Although we are born with male or female sexual organs, we all have both energies within us that have nothing to do with our sex or sexuality. So this is not talking about what gender you are or what gender you might identify as in that vein. This is talking about the energy of the divine and the feminine, the divine masculine and the divine feminine that we each carry in us regardless of what body we are in physically. In terms of energy, male energy is creative, practical, and far-sighted, but unbalanced. It can take the form of control, anger, and conflict. On the other hand, when female energy is balanced with male energy, it is intelligent, nurturing, and intuitive. Unbalanced, it is fragile, and its personal strength is weakened. The trick is to balance these energies, because only when both are used correctly can we manifest our desires in the material world. The second part of the law reminds us that everything, including our desires, has a gestation period during which they will continue to grow until they emerge into the material world. In the creative process, this is a good example of the law of rhythm. Do you want to give birth to the baby 1 week after conception, or are you willing to wait for that 9-month cycle for them to develop into a baby that can survive outside the womb? We must be patient with our desires because everything created in the world was first a seedling of thought. That was nurtured by the male and female energy for a period of time, or gestation, before it becomes a reality. Advice. Embrace your male and female energies to achieve a balance that nourishes and tends your ideas and desires during the inevitable gestational period before their manifestation. Finally, the law of gender has little to do with physical gender. Rather, it means that there are two main types of energy. You can think of them as masculine and feminine, yin and yang, or anima and animus. We all have a certain amount of both energies. And if we want to live happily, we must find a way to strike a balance between the two. Think about the role each type of energy seems to play in your life, and whether any of them is in excess or deficit. So do you have too much of one and not enough of the other? The law of gender applies to everything. Everything has yin and yang. On the physical level, everyone has a male or female body, but psychologically, everyone is androgynous, with both male and female characteristics. Everyone has a left brain and a right brain. To really master this law, you need to keep your ego in check. Let your ego deal with your physical being, but do not let it dominate your emotional being. By mastering this law, you can create a better balance between your male and female attributes, and everything in your life, personally and professionally, will flow much easier. And now here is our conclusion, and it's just a very short little statement from the author, putting it all together. There you have it, the 12 universal laws. Before you get overwhelmed, incorporating them into your life is more about understanding and conceptualizing them in a meaningful way for you. They don't have to be analyzed, just understand the concept and keep them in mind to learn how to use them in everyday environments. Now that these laws have been introduced to you, they are likely to appear in your life over and over again. Okay, so I think That was a rather short read, but I think a really good one. So hopefully you have found this helpful. I know I say that in every video that I read almost, and certainly at every conclusion, every end of my book, but I really do take something from every book that I share with you guys. This is the first time that I read all of these books. I think there's only been one book that I have read to you all that I read myself. But other than that, I learned right along with you guys. And of course, we're all on different levels and in different levels of our journey. You know, you can take step back, you can take steps forward, you can stand still for a while. Wherever you are at this moment is exactly where you're meant to be, spiritually speaking, and physically speaking as well. So if you enjoyed this book, as I said in the first video, there are 3 other books, 12 Laws of Karma, the 12 Laws of Life, and the 12 Laws of Being a Human, all written by the same author, focusing on that certain aspect. So if you're interested in me reading any of the other ones, please let me know. I would be very happy to do that for you. So we will see what I will read next time. This book was a lot easier and shorter to read, so I am going to have to figure out what to read next to you all, what's in my library. And if you have any suggestions, please let me know of something that would be friendly to read for all and something that isn't too complicated. I like something that has an easy flow and that for the most part, any of the information can be understood and retained by all people. So until next time and until our next read segment, please take care of yourself. Please take care of those around you. I will see you again very soon for another book. Take care. Bye-bye.